Blog Talk Radio.
Hello, everybody. This is Vicki here again. We are the Pennsylvania Coalition for Family and Parents' Rights, trying to get everybody some well-needed information out there if you are wrestling with the child welfare system and family courts. We do not have any attorneys yet, although we would like to. None of us are attorneys. We are just sharing our personal experience and or opinions about what happens as you go through the system. Many of us have lost our children to the system. I personally am a foster mother who lost a foster daughter to the system, and it seems all of us have dealt with very abusive power and corruption within the family courts and the child welfare system to take our children. We're going to share some more of those opinions today. We're going to share a Superior Court opinion, and we're going to talk about parent attorneys. I first want to say call in. If you want to call in, it's 646-595-2137. And to email our coalition, you can email at info_PAcoalition@gmx.com. I want to bring up also that there is a huge rally at the Lackawanna County Courthouse, April 26th from 12 to 3. Please try and attend this. Everybody that's going through this, there's going to be some really good information there. Jesse Epps is going to be there. He is a Civil Rights Hall of Fame inductee, civil rights advocate, and the Democratic candidate for PA's 11th Congressional District. It seems to be the only one running so far that has stepped up to help out on the issues of the problems in child welfare, and that is Andy Ostrowski. Like what he's doing. They tried to knock him down already a few times. It seems that anybody that comes up against these issues pound into the ground. I hope to be there. A lot of people from the coalition are going to be there. And you'll hear these speakers. I've invited Mark Rossi. I don't know if he's going to show. This is really all in the memory of a total saint in these issues, and that was Nancy Schaefer, the Georgia senator, who sadly her and her husband were murdered sticking up for the wrongs in our family courts and the child welfare system. So if you can, please try and make that rally. Lackawanna County Courthouse, April 26th, 12 to 3. Another disturbing thing I learned today is we're all really concerned about Justine Peltier and how the state of Massachusetts took custody of this 15-year-old child from her parents, keeping her from her parents. It's so disturbing. Well, it seems that now Birmingham, Alabama, a newborn baby was taken because the parents refused to have him vaccinated. And I think a lot of that stems from all the issues and doubt about vaccinations. A lot of these vaccinations could be behind autism and could be behind a lot of other illnesses that children seem to be getting. Parents should have every right, if they do not want to have their child vaccinated. And actually, there are exemptions to vaccinations in all 50 states. So here again, the abduction of a child and newborn, really, people, come on, let's get over yourselves and stop taking our kids, especially for no reason. And that, to me, is a parent's choice, and parents have the right to raise their children. A thing yesterday about calling the FBI. You can go onto the FBI website and get the number for where you are. We were handing out the Pittsburgh office, and that was 412-432-4000 to give a complaint about your civil rights being stomped on by Children Youth Services. And that can be in any way of not having a warrant to come into your home, abuse, racketeering, anything you see with the judges, the attorneys. A lot of times the GALs are not doing their jobs, and they have their hands in all aspects of your case where they really don't belong either, and they just go along with CYS to see that your child is taken. The fax number, what we were doing is calling and making our complaint and then following up with a fax, just a review of your complaint, try and keep it one page. And that fax number is 412-432-4188. There's also a campaign going on with the ACLU, and you can write them at the ACLU Foundation of Pennsylvania, P.O. Box 40008, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania 19106. And you can call them to make a complaint at 215-592-1513. So those are some of the things we have going on. There's a lot more on my websites. I'll be posting some stuff today after the radio show. Right now we're going to get into the guest caller, who we are going to discuss some of these Superior Court opinions and about parent attorneys. Hello, caller. How are you?
Hi, Vicki.
Enjoying
this nice weather.
I know. I was too. Let me tell you.
I heard yesterday that you got you had the president on for quite some time.
Yes, I did. It was a real joy to have Ed, the president of our Pennsylvania Coalition of Parent and Family Rights, to be here and share some of his experiences and information. Lots of help. And now it is your turn, because I want to hear what you got to say today.
Okay. Well, today I'd like to talk about parent attorneys and appeals. And I know it's two separate subjects or topics, and we don't normally do that, but they're just so intertwined. I just feel like they just need to be discussed together. So, as you know, our Constitution guarantees us the right to legal representation. When we cannot afford it, one is appointed for us, paid by the government. And that's what happens a lot of times with CYS cases. A lot of the people, and I've seen this over and over again in our group, a lot of the people that come to us for support and help are low-income, inner-city families. So they usually get appointed to them what we call a parent attorney. And they, of course, are paid by the county to represent the parents, which does not happen often. These parent attorneys end up siding with CYS. I've seen in court where the parent attorneys will say things that the parents never said. And I agree to my child being in foster care. The parents never said that. The parents are fighting to get their child out of foster care. But the parent attorney will stand and tell the judge, oh, my client agrees the child should be in foster care. And that gets pretty rough for the parents and pretty hard for them to understand how can this person be working for me, yet saying the exact opposite of what I want. And the system has changed recently. Years ago, they had roughly about 20 parent attorneys, a pool of them that they would pull in from their private practice to take this case or that case. The attorney, of course, would get very, very minimum pay, but they did it. They have changed the system now because they said that was costing too much money. So several years ago, 3-4 years ago maybe, they fired all the parent attorneys and rehired then 6 attorneys. They fired them all, and then everybody had to come back and apply for these 6 spots, okay? And the attorneys that they chose for those 6 spots is really rather interesting, because prior to the change, they sent all those 20-some parent attorneys to special training up with the Supreme Court. And Supreme Court Justice Max Baer ran the training. And just after the training, they changed the system and they fired all 20 of those attorneys, and then they had to come back and apply for 6 spots. The 6 attorneys that they hired, out of 6 of them, 3 of them never had any experience in family law. And that's pretty frightening.
Yeah, definitely.
Now, some of the people have come to us, when they come to us for some help, they'll say, I can't get a hold of my attorney. What do I do? I emailed them, I called them, I stopped in their office. They're just not getting back to me, and I have, some things I need to discuss with them. And this is what I tell them. Go down to CYS any Tuesday or Wednesday. They're hanging out there. They hang out. They do. They hang out at the CYS office. You see them there all the time. They're not supposed to be doing that. CYS is supposed to be the, I don't want to say, but the opposing party. How would you like it if you and your husband were getting divorced and your attorney was hanging out over there with them, having dinner with them and lunch with them, and swapping files, and is something wrong about that?
Very, absolutely very wrong.
Yeah, so that's what they do. Now, one thing that the families need to do, and I can't stress this enough, and I am by no means claiming to be an attorney. No means. I am not giving legal advice. Everything I'm saying here is basically based on my own experience, personal experience. I think that what they need to do, and what I have done in the past, was really urge your attorney to work for you. And if your attorney refuses to work for you, what they're supposed to be doing, then there are places to file reports against them.
Do you happen to have that, right in front of you?
The Disciplinary Board of Pennsylvania. I will sign up very quickly here. Disciplinary Board of the Supreme Court of Pennsylvania. That's a very helpful site, by the way. You can also look up to see if your attorney ever had complaints against them.
Ah, good stuff there.
Yeah, if they'd ever been disciplined. But the website's very good. The website is padisciplinaryboard.org.
Okay, I will get that up with this then, with the radio show too. I'll make a link there for it.
Mm-hmm. And that's where you would file a report against an attorney that is not serving you right, okay? Which is the case in a lot of these CYS cases. I know yesterday you talked about Court Watch and people going to court just to sit there and support the families, which is what our group does a lot. And so I see this all the time.
We have people out there doing that today, a matter of fact.
Yep. Okay, now I want to talk a little bit about appeals. I know your president said yesterday, he was talking about, appeal it. When you would file an appeal, if the judge in the particular case issues a final order, it can't be a temporary order because they're not appealable, a final order, and there's some legal basis that you can show, or your attorney can show, there's a legal basis that he should not have ruled in that way. You would then take it to the higher court, an appellate court. And the first court you would take it to would be the Superior Court of Pennsylvania with a CYS case. And the parent attorneys are obligated by law to file those appeals, family, if they want to file an appeal. And so one of the first things they do is file a notice of appeal. These are the steps that are taken in an appeal. I'm going to run through this very quickly because there's something very important that I want to say at the end of this. Your attorney would file a notice of appeal. but you have to have a legal basis. You can't just because you don't like the judge's decision. That's not going to work in an appeal. It's got to be a legal basis, a constitutional issue, something like that. Shortly after you file your notice of appeal, the judge needs to issue an opinion as to why he ruled the way he did. And then it's time to start writing briefs. A brief is basically your argument on paper. Everything you want to say to the higher court is on paper. You're not going to be standing in front of them unless, of course, you go for oral argument. But these attorneys don't do that. They usually just write the appeal. Now, when you write your brief, there's a certain way it's got to be set up. And anybody can learn how to do an appeal just by going to the PA Code website. If you would just Google PA for Pennsylvania .r.a.p. It's Rules of Appellate Procedure. Everything's in there on how to engage in an appeal. For those who want to challenge themselves and do this pro se. But that's what you'll find, all the rules, regulations, how to lay out your pages. But appealing attorneys are obligated by law, like I said, to file appeals for their clients. They usually do a pretty lousy job. They'll file the brief, their argument for their client. CYS files their brief. Shortly after that, the parent attorney will file what's called an Anders brief. And basically the Anders brief says, my client's crazy, they don't deserve to win this appeal, and this is a waste of your time. And then they file a motion to withdraw as counsel. So they're off the case. So basically they're taking these parents, they're giving them this hope, this false hope. They're taking them to the Superior Court, filing an appeal, and then they're telling the Superior Court, this isn't worth anybody's time. So we'll just take a loss. And most parents, 9/10% of the parents end up losing their appeal. A lot of these appeals are termination of parental rights also. So when you lose an appeal, you have lost your child forever.
Wow. Sad.
So one of the things that I like to do in my spare time, many people like to read books. I like to read Superior and Supreme Court opinions, what I do every day. I sit at my computer and I read them. Good ones I'll save, I'll print them out, I'll look for case law, and I just love reading them. And about a week or so ago, I was reading an opinion, and it was basically the Superior Court is really chastising this attorney for not writing their brief correctly. And I believe, did I send that to you yesterday?
Yes, I do. I have it in front of me.
Okay. If you will turn to, it's amazing what the Superior Court is saying to this attorney. Page 2. Okay, where it says, now when they're referring to appellant, they're actually, the appellant did not write, the family did not write the brief. The attorney did. Okay, so when they say appellant, they're referring to appellant because it's their case, but the appellant did not write the brief. So just keep that in mind as we're going through this. They say that the appellant failed to include a summary of the argument and a copy of the statement of errors complained of on appeal. The summary of the argument is just a short version of your main argument in a brief. These are parts of a brief. The brief is divided into sections. Every section has to be included in the brief. Has to be there. All right, so here they failed to include a summary of the argument and a copy of the statement of errors complained of on appeal. Statement of errors complained of on appeal, that's the part where you're saying to the Superior Court, these are the reasons why I want you to look at my case and help me out. This attorney didn't even have that. And then, however, the most glaring deficiency concerns the argument section of the brief. Appellant did not, and it goes through all these rules that they're supposed to do. This is how you lay out your brief. This attorney didn't do any of this stuff.
Wow.
See the whole list of things?
Oh.
And then they go on to say, the argument
bad.
section of the brief consists solely of incorporation of reference of preceding sections of the brief, including the scope and standard of review section, where appellant quoted 3 pages of the trial court opinion's recitation of the scope and standard of review. Okay, so basically this attorney copied just what the trial court put in their opinion for this section.
Wow.
And then if you go to the bottom of page 3, I love this one, the footnote, number 3 footnote. It appears the brief included another page, page 10, which is not part of the brief. Despite our effort, we were unable to locate it. So this attorney didn't even put one of the pages in.
That is like totally
so it goes
botched.
on and on. Yeah. Also at the bottom of page 3, right above the footnote, accordingly, in light of the substantial deficiencies described above, these are the deficiencies in the brief, we conclude the claims are waived, given up. This parent didn't have any claims because of all the problems with the brief. So, but the Superior Court, they made an effort still on page 4. They say, we will nonetheless review what we discern to be a claim. They're going to try, okay? They're going to try to figure this out. And they didn't have a whole lot of luck if you read through this appeal. And then on page 6 at the bottom, at the core, appellant is not arguing there is insufficient evidence for terminating appellant's rights. Rather, appellant is asking this court to reweigh the evidence in his favor. Remember, I told you have to have a legal argument as to why the judge was wrong in ruling the way he did. And they say, this is not our role. Their role is to figure out if there was a legal basis. If you have a legal argument as to why the judge did not have ruled the way he ruled, there was nothing in this brief. Nothing. And in the end, if you go to the last page, they end by saying, the court did not abuse its discretion in terminating appellant's parental rights to their child. Now, if anybody wants to look this case up, Pennsylvania has a really cool website. It's the Unified Judicial System in Pennsylvania. Are you familiar with that?
I've been on there a few times. Yes, I have.
If you go to the opinion section, this is where I go and I read opinions every day. But this particular case is in the interest of PMM-G.
And this was very, very, very recent.
Yes, it was. Yes, it was. The appeal, the order from the termination hearing was just in June. They usually take about 6 or 7 months when it comes to children. They have a children's fast track where they go pretty faster for when there's children involved. I mean, it still takes a long time, but a lot less than if it was a criminal case. But now we go through all that. We go through the parent attorneys. Okay, the attorney who wrote that brief and did that appeal is one of the parent attorneys that were hired when they made the change. So basically, this mother lost her child forever because the attorney did not have any clue as to how to write a brief, how to do an appeal.
Wow. That is sad. I was just looking, though, to just think about, if this is fast tracked. I see it says where it says children's fast track, but This started the appeal filed July 23rd of 2013 and finally affirmed March 27th of 2014. That's still like, oh, that's crazy. And all the time this child more than likely was in foster care and then just taken away.
Well, the child was probably already placed in a pre-adoptive home. This is what they do. They take the children. Yeah. I don't believe their goal is to return any child back to their parents or their family. I believe their goal is to swiftly move them through to adopt them out. Now, it's also interesting. This.
Go ahead. I'm here.
Oh, okay.
I'm here.
This particular attorney, her name is Susan Kurtz. She, when CYS, or not CYS, the county made the change to get rid of the other 20-some attorneys, after training them, of course, 2 full days of training, and they decided to hire these other 6. I'm having a hard time understanding how they could hire this particular attorney who had nothing except her only practice was in business law and real estate law. She had no family law experience, yet the 20-some attorneys that they fired did, and they had the special training for CYS cases.
Did you ever put it together? Did you ever find how she's there and some others aren't, like a relative or was the law clerk, or did you ever find a connection?
No, the only thing that I was able to find out was that Judge Marianne Ullman is the head of dependency court. I believe, I think we all know that. And I found out through court administration that she is actually the one that recommended the change, getting rid of the 20-plus attorneys and coming back with just 6. Before the change, the attorneys were being paid by the hour. And it wasn't a lot. They didn't get a lot of money. But they didn't have so many cases either. They were spread out. There was 20 of them. Now you have 6 that are busy all the time. And now they're salaried. I don't know what they're salaried, but they're paid on a salary now, as opposed to, per court, or how much time they were in court, or how much an hour sitting in their office with their clients. They get a salary. They get the same amount of money no matter what they do. Okay, so yeah, they're going to avoid their clients. They don't want to spend the time sitting there talking to their clients. And I'm telling you, I have so many people calling me. What can I do? I can't get a hold of my attorney. Just go down to CYS on Tuesday and Wednesday. Yeah, definitely. Well, I noticed this just going through any court that I went through, how they hang out. If you're in town at lunchtime, you're going to see them all hanging out in their little cafes and their little restaurants, just talking about everything that's going on in their cases. And usually it's, his attorney and your attorney, there they are, just having lunch and laughing. And you know what? That doesn't bother me near as much because, they're professionals. They can't take their business into their personal life. I mean, just like if I had a job and I want to bring my job home and I something bad happened at work, I'm going to come home and yell at my family. I'm a firm believer that work and personal life should be separated. I don't really have a problem with that. I do have a problem, though, with your attorney hanging out up at CYS. If your attorney is sitting at the cafe across the street and having lunch, and the CYS attorney just happens to stop in and have lunch at the same time, and they sit down and chat a little bit, about the weather or whatever, that doesn't even bother me. It's when they go up there and hang out in the office, and they have to drinking coffee with them, and that's just ridiculous to do that. And I don't even believe, and I'm going to find out. I don't believe that it's. I believe it's a regulation that they're not supposed to do that.
Sounds like a good place for cell phone pictures.
Well, I believe that a year or two ago, somebody in Berks County had posted signs, I'm not sure, some government agency, I'm sure, all over the courthouse where there's many, many floors where you cannot take pictures or videotape. And CYS office may be one of them. So we certainly don't want to start doing stuff like that.
I have a question for you. I was reading some different stuff today, and I wasn't really sure about Pennsylvania. As far as I know, and Ed was on yesterday, and he kind of backed this up, that courts in these courts, CYS court or your family courts, they are open courts. They're not closed courts, right?
That is correct. Judge Ullman actually opened them. She ordered the dependency courts to be open, yes.
Okay, because Schuylkill County, they claim that they're closed. They do not let people in. I'm anxious to see what happens. There's a hearing coming up on April 14th up there, and of course I directed this person to have a good amount of people with her. Curious as to what they're going to do, because they wouldn't let me in, so I'm thinking, what will they do? And I told her to let them know that it's open court. People are there to support her children and her.
I'm not sure if it's open. Well, you know what? It is. It's in the Pennsylvania Constitution. All courts are open. But now Judge Ullman in Berks County specifically opened dependency cases. I mean, there's an order where dependency courts are open. I'm not sure if they have that in other counties. I know, any other courtroom you could walk into, a criminal case, a custody case, the other courts are open. But dependency was always treated differently, as you know. But
so I better
Judge
find
Ullman
that out.
Yeah, yes, and I'm not even sure who you would call, I guess, court administration, but they lied to us when we first started going, right after Judge Ullman opened the dependency courts. We started, demanding that we get in these courts to be and we don't say anything or do anything. We just sit there in support of the families. And a lot of the judges and the clerks and the sheriffs and all were saying, "Oh, you can't come in here. You can't come in here." And we'd go down to court administration, and they'd be like, "No, you can't go in." We had to dig up the order and carry it around with us and say, "No, Judge Ullman has ordered dependency courts open." And that's when now we don't have to carry the order around with us anymore. They all know. We know. How we can get in.
Well, I'm to research that for sure, because I know that they're not honoring it in most cases. So if there is an order up there, definitely have to get it. And their court administration, forget it. Any time I have called there, nobody knows what's going on. They're constantly transferring you. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous.
Well, maybe you can find out which judge is head of dependency up there.
I'm guessing it's Russell, since she's the one that's destroying all these lives up there, that she seems to be overseeing all these cases. I actually was going to call the commissioner up there again today, because he's got a slew of cases coming his way, and they need to start looking at it's the same people, it's the same supervisor, it's the same caseworker, it's the same judge. They need to start looking at it. And this person has been out of the system for over a year, and now they started digging into her life again and getting a court order, making her go to court so they can get in her house. And she's been out of the system.
Oh.
She's been raising her kids. I mean, this is just ridiculous that they can intrude in your life.
Well, they know they need a court order to go in, huh?
Yeah. Now they're actually getting the court order to go in her house and snoop around, and I don't know. It just creeps me out that this can be happening. I could see if she did something, that was so awful. I think she said the only thing she did is her son didn't have medication for 3 days until she could get the prescription actually renewed. And that's how she ended up back right away. They're ready to take her children. She has 3 of them, I believe, twins and another one, and they're ready to take them. Yep, let's get in there. We have 3 kids here we can snag. So kind of scary, very scary.
They would have had to file a petition. Does she have a court-appointed attorney?
No, she said that they told her that they didn't have one for her. I told her to call again and again and again, because they definitely have them. They said there was only one. And I know when I was up there, the father, the mother each had an appointed attorney, and they always have an appointed attorney when they go in to court. So they're there. I don't know why they're doing that to her.
She cannot have a hearing without representation.
That's what I told her. I said, this is what you need to do. You need to get those kids to the doctor, make sure that everything's in line, have copies of that, go get yourself a drug test, that make sure, you have everything that they could possibly come at you with and show up armed, people in the court to support you. So I'm hoping that she gets one. It's the time's ticking. I said, you have so little time to do all this stuff. There's so much to do. I gave her a list of things that she had to take care of and make sure she has the documentation to walk in the court.
Well, when is this hearing?
So it is April. It's right here. I feel so bad. I was on the phone with her for so long. I mean, I just feel so bad that these people are going through this, and they get away with it. April 14th.
Is that the one they already calling a court watch for?
I know that I told her, yes, to do her own court watch up there because it seemed like she had some people that were really good supporters. She actually has a good friend that's big in the civil rights kind of issues. Now, she's in Tamaqua, but it's Schuylkill County. But here again, and we've heard this how many times, her one twin has a slight thing going on with autism, and how they try and get these kids, and use that to get them from parents. It's so sad because to me this mother sounds like she's doing everything. The special school, she's really taking care of her kids, and she's out of the system. She got into the system because of, the father making false reports on her. And I guess even that father is going to go, she's going to try and get him to go to court saying, this never should have started in the first place, but she's been out of the system all this time. Why are you intruding in her life? But I think once you're in the system...
Did you say one of her children with special needs?
Yeah, she said that her one twin has some form, like autism, like so many. And they seem to prey on that. Up in Mifflin County, they have a slew of mothers that they all had their kids taken because they were special needs, mental. There was something going on that they just invaded their homes and their lives and took their babies.
Well, my heart goes out to this gal.
I know. And, we've heard before about, they're doing that so they can start getting the SSI checks because these mothers have, I guess, found that connection, that they were actually collecting SSI for their, for their children.
And child support from the parents.
Yeah. It's just, what a racket. What a racket. It's crazy.
And Title IV funding from the federal government.
Yeah.
Talk about triple dipping.
Yeah. I know, it is crazy, crazy, crazy. I don't know how they're getting away with it. I don't know if you read up on. There's a guy doing a radio show at Allentown, and this is coming from all the trains are coming down the track, folks. I don't know what to tell you if any of you are listening, but this is exploding. Everybody's getting on this wagon because seriously, 5 people, somebody that's been touched by this crap and what these agencies do. And there's a guy doing a show, Gunther, I think his name is. I did send him an email, but, yep, he's going to be rattling on about it, too. It's just so much corruption and so much wrongdoing with bullying people and just the intrusion in your life. I could not imagine always having to be looking over my shoulder like these people do. They can't ever relax because they're so afraid they're coming for their children.
Well, another thing that, and I don't know if this is happening in other counties or if it's just Berks County, but they are trolling. It seems that they are trolling the hospitals for newborn babies and take them right out of the hospital after birth. Do not, give the parents even the opportunity to care for the child. Now, what's the imminent risk? What's the imminent risk that they got to take a child, emergency placement right out of the hospital when you're born?
Well, we honestly know what the reasoning is that big adoption money that they get for getting them and adopting them out. But you're right. I do not see how they're getting away with it, and I think that's coming to a head as Pelletier case came out, and now this Alabama one's coming out. Justine might have been 15, but this Alabama baby's newborn, and I totally do believe that they have these people trolling at the hospitals, and they are stealing kids. And it just, most of the time, these mothers are young, poor, and don't know that there's any help for them. They feel totally defeated.
And in a lot of times in Berks County, they target young Hispanic girls. That I have a case going on right now. The girl doesn't speak a lick of English, and yet they're giving her papers to sign in English and just explaining to her what it says and having her sign it without an attorney present.
I definitely know a lot of English-speaking people, and this is true of a past foster child, that her parents had no idea that they were signing away parental rights. That's not what they were told they were signing. Don't doubt for 1 minute these people are your friends, because they're coming for you. And a lot of times if they have one of your children or two of your children, that third one is going too, because that's just what they do. Very, very scary, but it's what they do. And they have nobody's mind in the store. They have nobody to answer to. Until now, that groups of people are getting together and saying, I don't think so. Enough is enough. There has to be some kind of law out there to stop them. And if there isn't, then we need to make them. And I'm surprised that more politicians haven't stepped up to the plate and got on board with this. I don't know where you guys are, but seriously, if you want to get elected in this term coming up, you better be on to this subject and be helping change the laws to straighten this out, because that's what we are all looking for.
Yeah, speaking of elections, you want to tell me why? Maybe somebody can call in and answer this question. Why was it so important? I mean, the federal government sued, or maybe it was the state, sued Berks County for the elections code because they did not have Spanish language on the ballots or on the machines for the voting. They got sued. They had to add Spanish. Yet you don't need Spanish when CYS is taking your child. They can just hand you something in English and say, "Oh, this is what it says," and have you sign it. But it was important to have the Spanish in with the voting, but not.
Yeah, it seems like it's hard to believe, but, because everything's in Spanish. You can't even go. I seen the other day at the grocery store, every single Jell-O box was in Spanish. So it's kind of odd that they would be taking your kids and not have to have, have that language barrier hanging there, because you think that would be a reason to appeal things too. But I don't know who posted the Pennsylvania Coalition Against Domestic Violence. They have this city law thing and all kinds of good information on their site that I'm going to post later on. But I had never seen that before.
Visit there.
Yeah, I think Kim posted this. I'm not sure. I got it off of somewhere. But, yeah, it has the current Pennsylvania custody law. So, of course, we know all about the child's best interest. That can get majorly messed up in a heartbeat.
Yeah, because that's kind of opinion. But make sure you have the version that was written after September of 2013. There were some minor changes made to that custody law in September 2013. It had to do with reports, past reports of child abuse and stuff like that. So I believe now you have to provide a child abuse clearance and that kind of stuff. So just keep in mind, get the right version.
I don't see a date on here. I guess I'll have to go on the site. I don't see it on my printed page. But I will
definitely
check that
make
out.
sure it's after January 2011, because that was a major change there.
Well, here I'm seeing 2/27/13, so maybe there is a newer version. That was just a little mark on one of these pages. I will definitely make sure. But I was trying to gather some information on, the other thing that she posted, and this is another good one, which you probably already have this because you have so much, but she posted the federal civil rights statutes and the color of law, like a lot of good information for people to use when they're going into their civil rights lawsuit, which I hope that we're doing really soon.
That's a big one, color of law. That's a big one.
Yeah, there's a lot of information on here on all of them, and their sections, their titles. So I will definitely post that. That's why I printed it out, because I wanted to be able to post it up there so people have that information. I actually might put all this stuff on my blog so it's at one spot. But anything else? What else were we going to talk about today? Talked about the ACLU ditching me. Oh, I did make the complaint to the FBI. And I did send my fax today. And I see
now, this is the one in Pittsburgh, right? Is the FBI asking people to call them?
The article was under timesleader.com yesterday, and it said about the FBI. It was out of Wilkes-Barre, Scranton, and Lou has all that stuff going on up there. He's really, pushing for a lot of cleaning up the court systems and just politics in general, getting back to our Constitution and our civil rights. And it was on there that they, I guess because things are so bad up that way, and like we've all said, Sandusky and Kids for Cash, all this open doors to the crime that's going in on the court. And there was a thing there, yes, that you were supposed to call. And actually, it wasn't the Pittsburgh office. The number that they had up was for that area, Scranton, Wilkes-Barre. It wasn't Pittsburgh. Okay. But from there, when I called that number, then they sent me to Pittsburgh, and someone else called today and said that they got sent to Harrisburg. And you think I'd be more Harrisburg than Pittsburgh? I'm closer to Harrisburg or Philly. When I put in my zip code, it came up Philly. So I emailed my complaint to Philadelphia and called and faxed it to Pittsburgh. So I'm covering all of them, I guess, just to make sure it gets out there for sure. But I guess that that Victims Compensation Assistance Program that we had talked about back a few shows ago, I guess isn't for us, for me particularly in this case. Other people might be able to use that, but one of you ladies that are always on top of stuff posted that. But there is some people, like if you're in a car accident or something. Go ahead.
It seems to me that one would have to file some kind of a law enforcement report, and then you would use that in conjunction with that form. I read over that, and that's the impression I got. Now I need to study it more and maybe talk to some. Maybe I would even take that to the police station and ask them, what do you think, But it appears to me that you have to have some kind of a police or some kind of law enforcement report to go along with that.
The person I forwarded it to was I had a family friend was hit by was on a motorcycle, hit, is paralyzed, was burnt. The girl was drunk, had no insurance. She only did 10 months in jail. He never got a dime, and he's seeing life from a chair. And he posts a lot of encouraging stuff every day, and I had sent it to him because he definitely is part of, to me, this victim compensation assistance program because he didn't get any money. And, they have all kinds of things out now where he's an excellent chef, and he could have one of those chairs that have you stand up. Christopher Reeve had one, that you feel that you're at least back in the game. So I had sent it to him, but because that's what it seemed it was more for to me. And, of course, all his stuff was done by police. He had all that stuff done because of the accident. So I just hope it isn't too long after he's been hit, which it might be.
Yeah, there was I did see that. There were some time limits.
Yeah, that's another thing. Should there really be? Because people like him, you're finding out a little late that that's even out there. So
they
I see we're
working
on
stuff, don't they?
I know, really. See, this is there's so much knowledge that you can learn out there, and I'm loving it every day. I love the business cards that are getting worked on. I guess we'll soon have them to be handed out. Different places that we, maybe even the rally, if anybody's going up there to that rally in Lackawanna, that will be a good
I know
place
there are
to
several
spread
people
them.
going to that. These should be in soon. It's just a matter of the board approving them, and then they'll be ordered, and it doesn't take long to get them. We have an individual was very grateful, great help, and I'm very thankful for the individuals that stepped up and said, give me the order, I'll order them for you, and don't worry about it. So.
Yeah, that was very nice.
nice.
A huge big thank you to whoever stepped forward and did that for us, because it's a big help. We need to get out there. I was just looking at another thing I filed with the United States Department of Health and Human Services Office for Civil Rights. I filed a violation with them. It really was not that hard to do. So you can go onto their site,
and what
too.
happened? What happened?
I didn't hear anything yet. I did not hear anything yet. I could have sent files, but there's going through this, how many files there are. I mean, they're available, but I didn't send them. Looks like we got another caller here. Let's see who this is. Hello, how are you?
Hey, good. This is David Rathman calling.
Hi.
You needed me. I just found out about your talk show blog today. I've been interested in, of course, the family court system in Berks County for about 6 or 7 years. That my daughter has been in the battle to try to win back some custody. She does have partial custody of her children, but not enough to get any money. She gets no money from, of course, her husband. But so anyway, it was a lot of her problem was with BCCYS. She was accused of child abuse based on one bump on the head by testimony from a 5-year-old. And then 2 years later, of course, she got it expunged. The child said in an expungement hearing a year later that Mommy never hit me. And but when she was she was written up as indicated or founded of child abuse, and she was never she never got to talk to the doctor, and never got to talk to BCYS. It's just that the doctor wrote a phrase where it said that there might have been significant pain. And that was the whole thing based on child abuse. My daughter did work with the county in children and youth as a correctional officer for 4 years. She worked in domestic relations for 4 years and did a good job there in the county. And then for 2 or 3 years at the prothonotary, then she became a stay-at-home mom when they got a foster child at age 6 months. And so anyway, 4.5 years or 4 years later, her husband kicks her out of the house with using a 24-hour, protection from abuse or some kind of 24-hour emergent one. He said that she was throw a stone at the child because the 4.5-year-old adopted Asperger's child threw a stone and hit the 3-year-old natural-born child in the head. So the husband actually had a whole plan that we found out later, had a whole plan from a former Berks County juvenile probation officer who has written a book. The book's called Asset Protection from Divorce, and so he gives a whole series of things to do to win custody. But it happens that my daughter met this person back in 2005 at her husband's or ex-husband's 2005 class reunion. So this person that gave her husband all the tidbits or information has a book written, and it's still out there that you can actually get it.
Wow.
So anyway, I wrote a book myself. And I've been trying since 2010, I've been trying to get to the legislators in Berks County and Pennsylvania that are on the Youth and Children and Youth Committee. Because in my last...
I know who you are. Your book.
Yes.
Oh, it's an awesome book, Vicki. Oh, what is it called?
What's it called, Dave?
As good as a dog.
Yes.
Oh, good.
So in September this past year, I went into the state capitol and I gave my book to every member of the House Committee on Children and Youth. And I also gave a cover letter to say what I'm aiming for is to get justice, because all the dirty tricks that were played on us, I have ways of combating that. For instance, that 24-hour supervisory thing. I have a way of combating that. People can't just... The police came to our house, my daughter's house, threw her out of the house, and for 2 weeks she didn't see her children. And he said that she couldn't see her children until there was a custody... well, there was a custody evaluation after that. But anyway, the book, it's about 50 chapters of it anyway. But it uncovers a lot of people in Berks County that... oh, yes.
He names names, Vicki.
Yes.
Vicki, you ought to take some orders on that book, 'cause I'm telling you, it's a good book.
No, the big thing in the book, though, is that they accused my daughter of letting a supposed drug dealer use her car. But that never happened. In fact, I believe 100% sure, in fact, I found out more information since I wrote the book, that indeed what was done with my daughter was an illegal search by a county detective who called himself, when he interviewed my daughter, a federal DEA agent from Harrisburg. And a year later, we figured out that from our trial transcript that he was just a county detective. And my daughter had his personal phone number to call. So we got this county detective to come to her trial. Not to come, he witnessed via telephone for the second trial. And he said he did a dog search on my daughter's car. Now, I finally figured out after another year that's really against the Fourth Amendment. He did an illegal search. So the county
didn't have a court order.
Yeah, no, he didn't have a court order.
Dave, could you do me a favor?
Yeah.
Could you give your information to Vicki? Email it to her, not over the line, of course, over the air. If you could email your information, I really need to talk to you about some other issue.
Well, let me tell you this: my daughter went and had a modification trial a year later. Now my book ends with the custody trial and the fact that she won her expungement. But it was, almost a year after the custody trial, she won her expungement. But in the second trial, the judge says that doesn't matter, that you have no record of child abuse. The judge said that doesn't matter, that's irrelevant.
Oh, my God.
No, the story is the people that have actually read the book. Unfortunately, I gave the book to a lot of people that wouldn't read it.
Oh,
but
I read it online.
I'll read it. I will read it.
You will read it.
And you will know a lot of these plays.
I will read it.
Yeah,
yes, I will.
In fact, here's the thing. You can just go, if you just go on Google and hit As Good as a Dog, my book is still on the first page of Google.
Oh, that's awesome.
See, the idea is As Good as a Dog is a line from the trial and a line from my letter to the judge. I wrote a letter to the judge. I was a children's ministry director for a church. So I write my letter to the judge. The judge gets in cahoots with the lawyer from my church because they're good buddies, and helps to get me suspended from my job as children's ministry director for a church.
Oh,
so I lost my job.
I remember hearing that. Wow. That's the dirty politics that we are so disgusted with.
Yeah, so I've been to almost every person that was running for judge I got to talk to. In fact, I sent my book into prison to this person who is the supposed drug agent, maker of meth. They never caught 1 milligram of meth on him or his property. They had 30 agents investigate his property, his father's property, and his brother's properties. They found no meth, but they wouldn't let him have a trial. He had to plead guilty.
Wow.
It goes up to really Tom Corbett, because Tom Corbett used this to win the election in Berks County.
Yes. Yes.
So this guy's in prison, but he read my book and thanks me for the good things I wrote about him, because he helped my daughter through a rough time when she had no money to pay for rent. And so then they gear in this guy to get him falsely arrested with no information. So anyway, the book is a little bit interesting. One of the funniest stories is that in 2003, I got an award from Berks County for my Brass and Praise group. We played all over the county. In fact, we had about 250 people at one time play with my group in Berks County. And we did about 220 free concerts, collected over $30,000. My daughter was a player in our group.
Was it jazz fest?
No, it's all church-related music. But we played the Grings Mill Hymn Sings in Berks County. For the Easter Dawn services, for about 13 or 14 years in a row, we played for that, my group. But anyway, I got an award from Berks County called the City on the Hill Award. I was one of the first persons to get the award for my brass group being a charitable organization, because we did all our concerts for free. So anyway,
that's wonderful.
At that, where I got this award, the person seated at the table before I got my award was Judge Lash and his wife. And he's the judge, of course, that went against us. And the main thing they have against us is that we were convicted on not giving unconditional love to the foster child as to the natural-born child. So that we were convicted of not giving unconditional love. That's a good one. Anyway,
yeah.
I thank you for your time. But like I said,
please give that you called in. I'm so glad you called in.
Right.
And I hope someday
my daughter
I get to meet you.
Yeah, my daughter also did go to the Superior Court, because what happened in the modification trial. See, here's the crazy thing. In the first trial, my daughter wound up with 3 weekends to have the boys, and full time in the summer. But we don't give unconditional love. Why does she get full time in the summer? So in the second trial, then couldn't collect any money. But then for the second trial, she wanted to modify to get at least 50-50, so she would have help with support. But what happened? They took a weekend away from her on her modification trial, which is illegal. If it's your own modification trial, they can't. They revert. If you lose, you revert back to what it originally was. Instead, they took time away from her.
The punishment to get you back, retaliation. We've talked about it often on this show.
It's all retaliation. Yes. So anyway,
absolutely.
But I've been trying now. In fact, the proposal that I showed to a person I actually tried to help to win the judgeship. Anyway, he said all those conditions you have are perfect. They're perfectly needed for law in the family justice system. And then looking on emails in the recent weeks, I saw my daughter went to the Superior Court. She got an argument. And she gave all her information. She went pro se. She has a criminal justice minor. So she knows a little bit about, plus being domestic relations, she knows how the whole thing's supposed to work. So anyway, so she went pro se. She beat them in the court. She just absolutely beat them. My wife and I just sat there and watched in amazement. She won the trial.
Cool.
But they awarded in favor. They awarded in favor of the. Then when she took it to the Superior Court, she gave her 50-minute points. She had 28 lists of errors by the judge. And then in the Superior Court report, they write, well, she failed in that she did not file a statement of errors. Well, we have the statement of errors as 28 points. And the Superior Court writes that she did not file it. and we have the proprietary signature on it.
I wonder if they did. Wonder if they didn't hand it in. They say a lot of problems start at the clerk of court.
Well, the thing that is crazy, I read from this one person some of the things that about superior courts is that they don't have to sign it. Just the proprietary clerk signs it, so they don't even have to listen to it. Or don't have. They don't. I think the report was actually written by the judge for her case rather than superior court panel. And then they don't even have to sign it. They just let the proprietary clerk sign it. And one of the things in this proposal is that they should be made to sign it, so they're signing that they agree to these words, that they actually read their own report that's handed in.
I have actually heard a lot about this with the clerk of courts and how if you would get those records, you will see a lot of times that the judge doesn't even sign a lot of things, and the clerk of courts has things all messed up.
Right, that's exactly it.
That's exactly it. Getting lost.
Yeah, one of the things that was notable. Well, then I wrote to the Judicial Conduct Board. My report to the Judicial Conduct Board on the Superior Court, and also several reports against the judge, probably contains about 300 articles, 4,000 pages.
Wow.
Yeah, but that's not part of the book, unfortunately. Some of it is. Yeah. But I do hopefully write with a little bit of humor, too, because you have to have humor to keep you going.
I'll tell you what, you are an awesome dad to have stood by your daughter like this and everything that you've done. I cannot wait to read this book.
Yeah.
But
the one thing I can tell you now is my daughter did finally get a job. What she does is probably one of the hardest jobs there is to do. My daughter works with a private firm to try to get kids adopted or placed in foster homes, but these are the ones that the county won't even do because they're too difficult to find people. So she works as a firm that tries to find people for these. So that's what she does, and she does very well with the kids. She's really good with the kids when she has to drive them around to their different places. She has to drive around to see their regular mothers from their foster mothers. She travels in about 3 counties. But she's doing an awesome job with those kids.
Now, where does it stand with her children? Like, where is it still
right
every
now,
other weekend?
Yeah, well, she gets 4 nights a month during the school year, and on Wednesdays for 4 hours. So it's basically only 4 nights that she has them a month, and then in the summertime, guess what? She has them full time.
Yeah.
So that's
Imagine
her
that.
parents get so my wife and I get to babysit, which is great. So I teach the kids a lot of stuff in the summertime.
Yeah.
So we had Bible school. I had Bible school for my kids. I did Bible schools for kids for 40 years, basically, in a row. In fact, one time I did 5 churches that my kids used to have when they were young. They would help me run these Bible and sports schools through many different churches in the county and one even out of the state. I write music but I was a math teacher for 43 years. I even taught at Berks campus, and I taught logic. And one of the things about logic is there's one place where it tells you the things that they use. I forget what they're called. The fallacies, right? Like the fallacy of cause and effect, the emotional fallacy, the slippery slope fallacy. So that's part of my book. I use some of logic in my book. So I use some theology and some logic in writing the book.
Well, talking to you, you are one of those people that we are trying, there's so many out there you think this is never going to hit your life, and when it does, it slam dunks you, the corruption.
Yeah, I did send well, I can't say, I guess I better keep that quiet. Like I said, the Judicial Conduct Board, I went to many of the persons running for judge, and some, like I said, an interesting letter is the one that I got back from a person that's in prison, saying his third letter says he's innocent of all charges, and I believe him 100%. But he just happened to get involved in our case, and I think our case actually got him involved in it. So anyway, it's an interesting story. Read the book.
I definitely am reading it, Dave. I am definitely reading it. Thank you so much for calling in today.
As good as a
anytime
dog.
You feel, anytime you have something to say, you give me a call.
Okay,
okay.
Right.
And get on
Well,
my email and get your information for the other caller.
Okay. Let's get on your email. What's that? Your email address.
Yeah, vc9722@aol.com.
I think that's the one I have on this one page here. Yeah, I'm coming in here now. Yep, got it.
Okay.
Got it. Thank you.
All
Thank
right.
you very much. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Dave. Goodbye.
Yep.
Have a great day. All right, that was very refreshing also. Another great show today. My first caller, she is a wealth of knowledge. She shared a lot more good stuff today. How your court case can get messed up, even going to the Superior Court of Pennsylvania, because some hired attorney does not know what they're doing. Very scary that this mother lost her child all because of an incompetent attorney. Dave, thank you so much for calling in also and making us laugh a little bit there. And everybody, let's go check out Dave's book, Dave Rassaman, As Good as a Dog, and see what we can learn from that. Great day. Don't forget about the rally, Lackawanna County Courthouse, April 26th, 12 to 3. And again, we are the Pennsylvania Coalition for Family and Parents' Rights. We have a hotline set up, and it's also a fax if you need to fax at 206-339. You can email us at info_PAcoalition@gmx.com. I will try and post all this information that we talked about today on a site with either my blog, Vicki and Robizonia, or for those of you on Facebook with the recording archive of this show. Another great show, some good information. We'll be back on the air tomorrow at 1:30, and I will talk to you all then. Have a great day. Bye.